Saturday of the gathering. Went into the vendor room for the second time. And I got some cool stuff, very cool stuff. Got a Major Bendy of Ricky Morton signed right here. He inscribed it. Rick Morton, WWE Hall of Fame 2017. Comes with the card right there. Very, very cool. He actually gave me a free picture to throw in with it. It was actually only $30, which is kind of crazy because Major Bendies themselves can go for like $50 for an average Major Bendy. So, good deal on that. And then you move over here. I get a Jakks ECW figure of Nunzio. He put 2 braid in Good Luck. Nunzio, FBI, Little Guido. Very cool. Got all the inscriptions on there. Very glad to add these 2 signed figures to the collection. Let's look at my encyclopedia autographs. There is my autograph of Tony Mamaluke. He put FBI 2024. Very cool. There's where Nunzio signed the encyclopedia. There's my autograph of Mike McGurk, and she was actually very, very nice. There's Max Moon. Here's where I got both of the Roger brothers to sign right there. Here's where Dean Malenko signed the encyclopedia. And here in the new version of the encyclopedia, I got in the WCCW section, Kevin Von Erich to sign. This is a very rare autograph. Very glad to add this one to the book. There's the Big Show. And then I got a signed figure by Wendy Richter. There was a vendor there selling figures, and he did have this Wendy Richter for $35. And then, of course, the autograph comes with the VIP ticket. She inscribed it to Braden Wendy Richter. This is very cool. The yellow paint pen came out nice. Really like this. And then we went into the VIP room, and here's where Heidi Lee Morgan signed my new version of the encyclopedia. Right here is where both of the Glamour girls signed the encyclopedia. Very nice. I do love Lilani Kai's autograph. Right here is where the Jumping Bomb Angels signed in my new version of the encyclopedia. And then here is where the Jumping Bomb Angels signed in the old version of the encyclopedia. Right here is where Susan Green signed at the front page of my original encyclopedia. And there's where she signed in the new version of the encyclopedia. And then it was time for the Rumble at the Hilton 2024. What an exciting show this was. Let's get into my review of this show and my ratings. Starting off the show, coming out with somebody I've actually never heard of, but his name was Joe Vonacci. And his opponent was Justin Kindred Allen. This is actually a wrestler I'm pretty familiar with. Seen him a couple of times. He's actually fairly good. Start off the match. I mean, honestly, it was okay. Not something like to open up the show and get everybody excited for, but it definitely gets better. But I mean, it was not bad by any means, but it just definitely was nothing special. Justin Kindred Allen was actually playing a face in this match, and I'm used to seeing him as a heel, and I definitely prefer him as a heel. He works a lot better as a heel with the crowd and everything, but it wasn't bad. I'm going to give it a C+. And Justin Kindred actually ended up getting the win. And then it was time to get excited. Here comes Big Vito. It was just very exciting to see him come out all in full gimmick. It was great. He was trying to be a heel, but the crowd just loves him so much. Who's not going to be cheering for Vito? But then he hops on the mic, and this is where he gets his heat. He calls out a legend, Kevin Sullivan. He's calling him names, talking just total junk. And then here comes, to defend his longtime friend Kevin Sullivan, Andrew Anderson. He definitely wasn't here to play around. I believe he was accompanied, I don't know if it's his girlfriend or his wife, but yeah, he was accompanied by her. But yeah, they start the match, and both are past their prime. It's very clear they're past their prime, but they could still go. Vito still was very good. I've seen Andrew Anderson work, I believe, last year, so I knew he could still go. But Vito was still fairly good. I won't lie to you guys, I've never been the biggest Andrew Anderson fan, so I was actually going for the heel Vito here, but it was still very, very fun. The match itself was kind of short, but it was just definitely very, very entertaining, so I am going to give it a B minus. You move on, and I was actually fairly excited for this match. Coming out to the ring was Psycho Boy Fodder and Angelina Love. And they're being heels, of course. So I'm booing Fodder and yelling at him, and then all of a sudden I get acknowledged. He's yelling at me, telling me to get in the ring. He's opening up the ropes for me, which of course I don't want to get kicked out, so I didn't go take the offer and get in the ring, but it still was very funny. Then it's time for their opponents. Here comes Bosworth and Samantha Starr. And I won't lie, this was very, very weird. Every time I go to the gathering or any event, Samantha Starr is a heel and usually Bosworth is a heel. But it actually works having them as a face, which I knew it would work, but I definitely kind of prefer her as a heel. I don't really know. But really, it was actually a very good match. But it was mainly based around just Fodder and Angelina Love trying to cheat. Who's going to overcome the heels that are just wanting to cheat the whole time? And it worked. I thought it was a great match. I'm going to give this match a B. Angelina Love and Fodder ended up getting the win. And then coming out, speaking of heels, here comes Movie Mike. The moment he enters, I already know who he is. I know how he is. I'm already booing, and he starts yelling at me, "Quiet on my set." So yeah, he's always very entertaining, and he's actually fairly good in the ring. So Movie Mike is cool. And then here comes his opponent, one of my personal favorites to watch in the indies, Colby Corino. Recognize the last name? Yeah, it's Steve Corino's son. But it was a long match. They put in a lot of work. I give them credit for that. But it did get actually very sloppy at times. There were some moves that they would go for on the top rope together, and they would never happen because they couldn't get it set up. And in my opinion, Colby Corino is the way better performer. Colby is probably one of the better performers in all of the indies right now. Check him out in NWA. He is great. But I'm scared he might be working on an injury. I say this because I feel like something is wrong with his legs. I have no idea. I'm not a doctor or anything. But anytime he goes to lift somebody up and he has to use his legs in any way, that's when the botches happen. That's when he struggles. So I did fear that something's wrong with his legs. He's got some kind of injury. Colby Corino is a pretty built guy. He has never struggled to lift somebody the size of Movie Mike. So yeah, I don't know what was going on there. But even though I do think an injury is his excuse, I still got to dock points for it. It definitely made the match not as good as it could have been. So I am going to have to go with a B for this match. I believe if it was perfect, they hit everything clean, I think it could be an A minus, but I definitely can't give it that. And then here comes George South. Anytime George South is announced for an event, of course I'm getting excited. George South is amazing. But one of the first things that run through my mind is he going to be a heel or is he going to be a face? Everybody loves George South. He works as a face. But George South is just such a great heel. He is hilarious on the mic. He says some crazy things. He gets fans irritated. I'm not even lying. There was a fan in the crowd at this show that looked like he was actually getting mad over what George was saying about this guy's girlfriend. But then here comes his opponent, Ricky Morton. Everybody's excited. Rock and roll. So they get to talking. George is calling out fans. Talking junk to Ricky Morton. Then Ricky Morton gets a mic. He looks at the referee and accuses the referee of being one of George's guys. He looks at him. He says, "I know George brought you." And he basically says, "We're getting a new ref." So what ref could we get? There's no better ref that we could get than Tommy Young. He comes out. He's trying to get George to stop talking. George is still trashing the fans and just being hilarious overall. Ricky Morton's just over there laughing, really. But finally, the match gets going. And truly, the match itself really wasn't that long at all. But it was entertaining, so I'm giving it a B. It was so fun. Ricky Morton ended up getting the win. And this was hilarious. It was fun. I really enjoyed this. And then they invite Marty to the ring. He presents this title to a kid that was actually a vendor at the event. He was selling action figures, and I actually bought a figure from him. But they present this Gathering 5 title to him, and they say it's his birthday. We sing happy birthday. So yeah, that was a nice little moment to have. And then coming out to the ring were the Mega Heels. Everybody's got to hate them, although some people still love them because they're from the area. You get Ella Envy, the Mega Heel herself, and Emily J, which I've actually never seen Emily J work as a heel. Every time I've seen her, she's worked as a face. But when you pair with somebody with Ella Envy, it's hard to not be a good heel. So they come out screaming, cheer for us, cheer for us. Absolutely screaming, and of course we're all just booing. They get in the ring, then it's time for their opponents, the Hex, Marty Bell and Allison Kay. I'm a huge fan of the Hex. I believe they're a great tag team. They're actually very good in ring. So you start off the match. They have like this little showdown where they're getting up on the top rope, seeing who can get the most crowd chants. And of course, the Hex gets more chants. So then Ella Envy and Emily J says, this is your all's fault, we're leaving. So they're leaving. And as they're leaving, I'm sitting here yelling, nobody wants you and all that. And so Emily J comes over here and gets in my face and is absolutely yelling. So that was kind of funny. But of course, the Hex isn't going to let them leave. They get them, sling them back in the ring, and the match is started. They go back and forth in an actual pretty decent battle in the ring. All 4 women are actually fairly good. And of course, at indie events, you're going to expect botches, but there really wasn't that many in this match. There was only one noticeable thing that happened, but it was really no big deal. They clearly went back and fixed it. And then near the end of the match, Emily J and Ella Envy start getting into it. The teamwork is not going well anymore. They kind of start throwing each other around, but not really. Nobody ever turned on each other. They just sort of started not getting along. So the Hex capitalize on this, and the Hex end up getting the win. And this was actually very good, so I am going to give this an A-. Then it's time for the Battle of ECW match. Coming out to the ring was C.W. Anderson. Everybody's chanting for C-Dub. And then here comes Pitbull Gary Wolf. Of course, being the clear heel, his manager's yelling. He literally yelled in my face, trying to scare me. So yeah, very entertaining. Everybody was chanting for CW. Then the match gets started, and it's actually fairly decent. Both guys can still go, and they're obviously clearly past their prime. I mean, they have a combined age of over 100 years. Both men are over 50, and they're still taking hard bumps. So, hey, good for them. Gary Wolf tries to cheat and everything. With his manager helping him and all that, he ends up getting the win. Gary Wolf wins the match. I'm going to give this ECW battle a B. And then it's time to set up for the main event. We knew it was going to be a cage match, but it definitely took a while to set up. They were clearly struggling to set up the ring there for a little bit, but then they got it under control, got the cage strapped in and everything, so we're ready to go. Which, even though some people might think it's boring because it took them a while, it was actually kind of interesting to see them set up the cage. Starting off the match, I believe his name is King Bam Bundy. Clearly the heavyweight going into this match. He's actually a fairly good wrestler. And then the second person to come out is Court Montgomery. This is your evil heel that nobody likes. There's nothing to like about him. There's a lady behind me that was absolutely going crazy. They had to tell her to go sit down because she's literally walking up to the cage yelling at him, like touching the cage. Yeah, I don't know what she was doing. So I guess you can say Court Montgomery was getting some heat. And then was Nate the Great. Everybody's excited for him. I mean, we all love Nate the Great here at the Gathering. He is a fan. He is one of us. And overall, he's just a very nice guy. He's got his wife and 2 kids with him. We all love Nate the Great. And then here comes the charismatic man himself, Kerry Morton. I mean, Kerry Morton is just the future. This is one of these guys that I'm like, please, WWE, please just see his work, see the talent, and sign him, just like you did Lexis King. Kerry Morton's a second-generational wrestler, the son of Ricky Morton. I mean, he has so much charisma, so much connection to the fans. No matter if he's a face that's just getting hyped up by the crowd, or if he's a heel like he is in NWA. He was kind of at first doing this face kind of thing. Everybody's cheering for him. Everybody loves him. He's dancing and doing all kinds of funny stuff. But then he starts making names for Nate the Great. He starts just talking junk to Nate the Great, and that's everybody's friend, actually, at this event. So he starts drawing some heat so Kerry can do it all. I love Kerry. Please come to WWE. So they start the match. Everybody's getting their moments. Everybody's getting to get a little bit of offense in at least. And overall, it was very good. I thought everybody had a great performance. The managers on the outside did eventually get involved. King Bundy's manager is just so evil, like nobody likes him. And then you got the manager for Nate the Great, which I actually had no idea. I just saw it was a big built dude, and he ends up slamming the cage in somebody's face and making them bleed and everything. So yeah, there was a lot going on in the match. But then there was a spot where Nate the Great hit King Bundy with a spear. Kerry Morton's nowhere to be found. Neither is Court Montgomery to break up the pin. And that's 1, 2, 3. Nate the Great gets the win. So it was kind of just like a sudden ending. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And Kerry Morton leaves. He's standing there the entranceway. He's like, I'm going to get back in there. I'm going to get him. He eventually never got in there and beat anybody up, but it was definitely hilarious. So everybody's celebrating with Nate. He hugs it out with what has become his longtime enemy, I guess you could say, King Bundy. He's been feuding with him for like the past 3 years at the Gathering. But then he grabs the mic and he basically gives the belt to Marty. The belt that he had just won, he basically says, we're going to give it back to where it belongs. He tells him thank you for letting him be Nate the Great one last time. So that is the retirement of Nate the Great. So he definitely ended off on top, winning the T-Mart title. Kerry gets in there, what I thought he was going to attack him or have something to say. But no, he really didn't have much to say. He kind of just said thank you. And he basically said, you had a great performance in the match, and he left. So then he starts taking off his boots. It's an official retirement. Here comes his kids and his wife. They all hug it out. It was very sad to see this. Everybody's chanting Nate the Great. Everybody's getting in the ring to celebrate with him. But yeah, just what a great ending to the Rumble at the Hilton. So now the T-Mart title is vacant. Nobody has this title. I don't know if they're going to get rid of the title, if they're never going to defend it again, or if they're going to have a battle royal like they've had in the past next year to see who the new title is or who the new champion is. But yeah, right now he gave it back to Marty. So yeah, great way to end the show. Also, don't forget, he also announced that they did name it The Gathering, the final chapter, which I don't know why. It really didn't make much sense to me. I guess it makes sense because it's Nate's final chapter is wrestling as Nate the Great, but it's not the last gathering. That's what I thought when I first saw The Gathering, the final chapter. They already announced that it's happening next year. The Gathering 6, same place, Hilton University Place. It's going to be a blast. Check them out on Facebook. T-Mart presents The Gathering. I know they'll be giving out information. So just be ready, guys. Don't miss out on this weekend. It's great. If you're from the area, definitely come. It's very, very fun. I mean, they have people coming from New Jersey for this. It's a very, very fun weekend. Trust me on that, guys. Hope to see you guys all there. But I will see you all in the next one.